listeners, welcome to another HRO Today Educational Podcast. In this series, we aim to provide you the latest workforce management approaches and best practices in HR. I'm Debbie Bolla, Senior Vice President and Editorial Director of HRO Today magazine. It's pretty likely that HR leaders don't go a day without hearing about or reading about AI or automation technology. Its presence in the business world is undeniable. In fact, research from KPMG shows that 97% of leaders expect their organizations to be impacted by generative AI in the next 12 to 18 months. So what should HR leaders be looking for when it comes to this technology? Luckily, I have an expert here with me today to answer this question and more. Ed Pederson is Vice President of Innovation and Product Development for Kelly, a staffing and workforce solutions company. Ed leads a dynamic and high-powered team of product developers to build new business solutions across the Kelly enterprise. He is a leader of Kelly's digital transformation and a key architect for a multi-year vision that connects product vision with business unit ambition. Thanks, Ed, for joining me today. Where are organizations when it comes to leveraging advanced technology, AI, and automation?
I would say that most organizations are trying to figure it out. As I have conversations with different companies, people in our industry, inside of Kelly and what have you, I can't imagine there's a board of directors out there in the world that isn't asking their company about what their AI and automation strategy is at this point. The whole ChatGPT launch earlier this year just really caused a stir and a hype around the topic and made it that much more accessible. And I think people are trying to figure it out. So a lot to be done, a lot of cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. And I think people are trying to harness all that energy and come up with a strategy, figure out how to protect themselves in all the proper way and de-risk things, but take full advantage of what AI and automation can bring for them.
So with that in mind, in what ways can AI make a difference in talent attraction and retention?
So when we look at our industry, there's a couple of different areas that I think it helps a lot. The biggest one that I've seen a lot of activity in with different technologies and whatnot is around the initial finding of the candidate. So there's different sourcing and matching tools that can take old methods of how you search for candidates and apply artificial intelligence, machine learning, and modify that process to get much more targeted and return more qualified candidates back into the process. Once they're in the process, then you see automation opportunities for carrying and curating that talent. We're in a very instantaneous, consumeristic sort of culture now where people want quick response, instant gratification, short videos as opposed to long, drawn-out periods and things of that nature. And automation can really help with that process. And the nice thing and the neat thing with some of these newer tools that are coming out, it seems much more humanistic in nature. When you're conversing with a chatbot, it feels almost like you're talking to a human or a cat. And it's smart enough as well that if it starts to get into a territory that it doesn't really know how to respond, that it can cut over to an actual human and carry on the conversation for that. So it's building in a lot of speed into the process, building in a lot of efficiency for companies like ourselves. Ultimately, we're hoping that the talent experience is that much more kind of up-leveled by virtue of all these technologies coming to bear.
Those are some good points on how the technology has been evolving. So I'm wondering, how is AI changing the talent market, and how can organizations best pivot?
Yeah, so the talent market is everybody's trying to find people who are versed in the technology. So we've noted that there's a huge gap in automation talent, artificial intelligence. We're seeing brand new job descriptions that we didn't source for a year ago, like a prompt engineer on how to use generative AI. It's just a very dynamic and shifting market. From a talent market perspective, there's a shortage and there's a demand, and the skill sets that are going to be needed into the future are going to be rapidly changing, and our practices for helping talent along through reskilling and upskilling and getting the right certifications at the right time to connect with the right job becomes more and more paramount. It's actually the whole reason why we launched a product called Kelly Arc, where we were initially focused on automation talent. Our research showed that on any given day in the United States, there's between 7,000 and 10,000 open RPA developer, architect, that sort of thread of job just in the U.S. market. And so we crafted our online talent marketplace to respond specifically to that one and ultimately be the place that talent knows to go to find the job and the customers know to go to find the talent.
So a question everyone is wondering, what's next when it comes to AI, and what should HR leaders have their eyes on for 2024?
What's next? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or multi-billion-dollar question, it could be. So, there's a number of different schools of thought. I think there's folks that are like, hey, is this just another hype, and it's going to peter itself out and go back to the way that we used to do things, and people said that was nice and a good shiny penny and fun for a while, but really, it's my tried and true. I think the more progressive organizations, and me personally, is that it does have a chance to really kind of change how you do things. And it's, just a very simplistic example, an HR professional who typically would meet with a hiring manager and say, hey, what kind of job do you need to get done? They go through and they create kind of a job profile or job description that turns into a requisition and what have you. Generative AI can speed that process up infinitely. You could just feed in a couple of different prompts, use historical job descriptions that you've done in the past, go and do a few edits, and boom, you've got something that's posted out there. It's a very simplistic and straightforward example, and there's so many more out there that people are discovering every day. I sat down with folks from Microsoft yesterday, and they were sharing live demos of their Copilot technology, and it was curious to me that the person that was responsible for it said it's always interesting to do demos because I'm in the live environment and every day there's something new in here and I have to adapt to it. And I think that's kind of what HR professionals need to be A, aware of, but B, take advantage of, and C, put their employees into a framework or an environment that allows people to express that creativity and innovation in a safe and protected way such that, we're not linking PII data out into the broader intranet, but in a way that allows them to take full advantage of these features and these tools in a way that can help move the company forward, but also keep them protected.
And do you have any advice on limiting the risk that comes along with AI?
Yeah, what we've done is we've come up with our AI code of ethics in terms of how we want to interact with it. I think if a company or organization hasn't done it so far, they need to have kind of like a centralized voice that is orchestrating all of that. You definitely don't want to slow people down, but you also want that North Star for people to look towards when they start to get into some of those territories and those waters where it might be questionable. We've all seen the examples of, I think it was Samsung, where you had some very entrepreneurial employees put a whole bunch of company data out on an external GPT website, and that information's gone. Giving people that North Star within your company of when in doubt, go here, and then the guiding principles around it is a really smart move.
Having guidelines sounds like it can make a real difference. I'm also wondering, in what ways do you recommend leveraging AI to bring together the human element with the technology?
The focus should be around those repetitive, mundane, not fun tasks that people have to do in their everyday job. Focus the automation around that, because then that frees up humans to do what humans were intended for. It's the creativity, the innovation, the relational sorts of activities that automation is not necessarily set for. So when you think about it in that sort of context, then there's almost a win-win. You remove some of those areas that nobody wanted to do anyway, and you get people to focus on the things that they really wanted to.
Thanks, Ed. Sounds like a smart way to empower your workforce. Until next time, listeners, I'm Debbie Bolla.